Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans, to another episode of The Spread. I'm your host, Jim Sella, in studio with co-host Jay Dash. Gonna talk some Bucco baseball for you this week. We got Neil Walker up to bat. What's he doing?
Well, he's playing better baseball lately. The Buccos, they're 48-34 coming into today, July 7th. That's the second best record in the National League and the second best record in baseball coming into today. I actually think the Kansas City Royals already won today, and their win percentage jumped above the Pirates. So you could say third best in baseball. But they're sitting 6 games behind the Cardinals right now, and their offense was really struggling in June, for most of June, from June 7th to June 21st mostly. They scored 3 runs or less in 12 of 14 games during that span.
That's my thing with the Buccos. The other day you were saying maybe they were second in runs, but it's feast or famine. It's all in bunches or all in nothing, and that's going to get you in trouble in a playoff series.
Really, they had a slow start to the season offensively, and they had that stretch in June, but I wouldn't say it's really feast or famine. A lot of teams, everybody goes through their down stretches and their good stretches, and really, overall, the Pirates have been one of the better hitting teams in the National League, at least. But over this span, they had 35 runs total in that 14-game span, and they scored 11 in one of those games on June 15th at the White Sox. So really, they scored 24 total runs in the other 13 games during that stretch. So that was really their worst stretch of the season, too. They weren't that bad at the beginning of the season either. Surprisingly, though, they were 9-5 during those 14 games, and they had an 8-game winning streak from the 10th to the 18th.
Wasn't part of that time when Cole and Liriano and Burnett all struck out double digits in a row?
I don't think it was that stretch, no, but this was when the pitching actually went 3 games with shutouts or whatever it was. But yeah, it was all pitching that won those 9 games during that 14-game stretch for sure. And really, the offense hit rock bottom when they went to Washington. They got outscored 19-3 in that series.
Yeah, and Scherzer hit him and should have had a perfect game if it wasn't for punk-ass Jose Tabata.
Yeah, Tabata's a beast.
He's so good he got demoted.
One thing you could say, we're talking about Neil Walker in this segment. Walker did not actually play in the first 2 games of that series. So it's not like he was the only reason the offense was struggling during that stretch. But he was definitely part of or the main reason.
It's tough to say for me because last year, Neil Walker had a career year at the plate. He had over 20 home runs. I think he had the high for a Pirate second baseman. So is lacking that power, is that bad, or was it that he just played out of his mind last year? Now, I know he isn't playing as well, and he's a little better than what he is, but I didn't really expect him to put up over 20 home runs and drive in as many runs as he did last year.
It would have been nice to see, but no, you can't expect it. But really, his power is down a little bit too drastically right now. But really, you look, Kutch, Marte, Cervelli, Mercer, and Harrison were all hitting during this stretch where they weren't scoring runs. So it wasn't their fault. A lot of people, the first person they turned to was Pedro Alvarez, including you.
No, I've been saying Pedro's garbage his whole career.
So he wasn't the problem during this
He's been
stretch?
the problem for whatever, but I've always thought he was the problem. It wasn't just because we hit a rough patch.
Well, I totally disagree with you there, obviously. Now,
right, but you're saying that I said that because of Pedro's what caused the rough patch. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying Pedro's garbage.
Yeah, you were saying he was one of the main reasons why they weren't scoring runs, correct?
I'm just saying he's garbage, period.
I understand, but you're not answering my question at all. You're just saying he's garbage.
Right, because that's what I said.
No, that's not what you said. We did a whole segment on him, and you were talking about him.
Right. He's
and
a terrible
is that
player.
all you
He's
said?
Garbage, yeah.
That's not what you were saying.
Yes, it is. I said he's terrible on the field, and he's been terrible at the plate. He's garbage. That's what garbage means.
He's not been terrible at the plate. He's having one of his best seasons outside of the power. Now, the power was down during this stretch, but he was still driving in runs. And in fact, in June, they only gave him 63 at-bats, but he still had 9 RBIs. That's 1 every 7 at-bats. That's still a season where you're going to hit 80-some RBIs if you play a full season. So really, outside of the power, yeah, Alvarez could have had some more power during this stretch, but it was more Neil Walker and definitely Gregory Polanco, who has been struggling for a while now, actually. And I just want to see them give him more consistent playing time along with Alvarez.
Well, they're going to have to now because with Harrison hurt, they're not going to be able to do that old switcheroo where they shuffle everybody around.
Yeah, and Jung-Ho Kang is actually going to take over for Harrison mostly. He's going to get a lot more playing time, and he's actually been one of the reasons their offense was struggling a little bit. He slowed down a lot from the beginning of the season, and he really needs to pick it up now that Harrison is going on a DL.
The Pirates have talent. It just seems like at the plate, the talent's never really all on the same page. It's day to day, here and here. And I know, even the best lineup ever, you're not all going to go 3 for 4 or whatever and try. It just seems too sporadic for me.
It happens with everyone. Go ask the Cardinals how they feel about their offense right now. They're definitely not happy out there in St. Louis about their offense right now. So you have Pedro Alvarez, Polanco, and Kang are 3 players that people turn to say their offense was struggling. And Neil Walker, 47, and I said were one of, if not the biggest reason why they weren't hitting throughout June. If you look from June 7th to June 21st, he was 6 for 27, had a double, no RBIs, and 1 run. Now, he didn't play in 6 games during that span. 4 of those due to an illness. The other 2 just because they didn't want to face him versus lefties because he hasn't been that great at the right side of the plate this season.
Yeah, they make him a switch hitter. Don't just let him concentrate on one side of the plate, and then they don't even let him be a switch hitter.
Well, he's the one that wants to be a switch hitter. They actually asked him to just bat left-handed, and he said, no, I have more value as a switch hitter when he goes to free agency, and it's true. The fact that he's a switch hitter, when he hits free agency, it's going to make him a little bit more money. But you even look, yeah, he missed those 6 games during that span, but if you look through June total, he was only hitting 247. Now, his on base wasn't bad at 345, but he only had 1 home run, 5 doubles, 7 RBIs, 6 runs in 73 at-bats. So really, he didn't have a great June at all. But since being swept by the Nationals, the Pirates have scored 57 runs over 13 games. That's 4.4 runs per game. And from June 26th through July 6th, they're on an 8-2 run where they scored 44 runs, which is also 4.4 runs per game. So the offense is starting to get it done now, and Walker's a big reason for that. During that 8-2 stretch, he's 17 for 41, 2 home runs, 3 doubles, 9 RBIs, and 7 runs. In fact, he went 10 for 17 with 2 jacks and 7 RBIs at Detroit from June 30th to July 2nd. And that's really when he blew up in a big way. And if you look at his season numbers, he's hitting 274 with a 341 on base, has 6 jacks, 32 RBIs, and 34 runs now. And if you look at his career, he's a 273 hitter with a 341 on base. So his numbers are right in line with his career right now. But you got to remember, he was struggling most of the season. So it's really just been this stretch that he's been good that really turned it around.
I understand his numbers are close to what his career numbers are, but after last year, you thought maybe Walker finally hit that level where he took that step to maybe superstardom, maybe not nationally.
All-star.
He was always good, but you thought, no, he finally settled into being great. So you were hoping for another year, maybe at like 290 with 15 jacks is something I was kind of hoping for out of him.
I mean, he can still get there. He has 6 home runs right now. You're through half the season. He's on pace for 12 home runs. So, I mean, if he goes on a little stretch, he can even get close to 20 home runs still. I would doubt highly that he still hits 20 home runs. But, I mean, I could see 18 home runs from him still. But if you look, his April, I mean, he started off okay this season. He hit 288 through April, which is a nice average for him. But he wasn't getting on base much, just a 333 on base. No power, 1 home run, although he was showing gap power. 8 doubles, 9 RBIs, 10 runs in 80 at-bats. But then he really struggled in May, hit just 245 with a 319 on base. No power, still just 2 jacks in 102 at-bats. His on-base percentage improved in June, but not really in the counting stats. He hit just 247. But again, it was all just the last 5 games of June and the beginning of this month that he really brought his average up to 273, and he's been hitting pretty poor for about 2 months straight now.
The Pirates as a team struggled in the first month or so of the season, except for maybe Marte. But Walker, he's got to be getting it done at the plate if the Pirates want to contend, because they need to score runs. They're probably going to run into the Cardinals again in the playoffs, regardless of whether we win the division or they win the division. We're going to probably end up playing them again, and they're pitching so good, you're going to have to get runs to win. I know we have great pitching too, but when you have great pitching battling great pitching, it's the team that gets the 1 or 2 clutch hits that wins the game.
Well, to me, you just look at it. Now, I know we said Pedro Alvarez's power was down last month, and he's starting to pick it up right now. But you look, that the offense struggled big time last month, and Neil Walker was struggling last month, and as soon as he turned it around, the offense turned it around. He really needs to hit. And it's not just Andrew McCutchen on this team that when he's hitting, the offense is good, and when he's not, the offense is bad. There's other players on this team like Neil Walker that have to hit for this offense to succeed. But no matter what, he's still great defensively. He's been good defensively all season and really over the past few years. But the Bucks have 2 more games versus San Diego, then they have a 4-game home series versus St. Louis, and then the All-Star break. So we'll have to see what happens. I'd like to see Walker keep it going into the All-Star break.
He's just going to chill out in Pittsburgh and maybe go to Ohio Pal and slide down the rock slide.
I highly doubt it.
Well, that's what I would do. He's not going to put fireworks in his hand and light them off like Jason Pierre-Paul or whatever the heck that dude's name is.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
What an idiot.
But Pittsburgh, actually, the St. Louis Cardinals already lost the first game of their doubleheader today, so the Pirates are actually 5.5 back now. So if the Pirates can win tonight, who knows? The Cardinals might even lose game 2, so they could be 4.5 back by the end of today.
I'm a firm believer that if the Pirates don't win the season series against the Cardinals, they're just not going to win the division, only because they're both good teams. And I know everybody keeps saying the Cardinals are going to come down to earth. Well, they have, and they're still been between 6 and 9 games up on the Buccos for like the last 2 weeks. I just don't see them falling that far. They both win at the same time. They both lose at the same time. So it'll take the Buccos to win that season series to get them ahead.
Yeah, it's possible. It could come down to that. And the way they usually set the schedule up, they make those important games come at the end of the season. So it really does come down to you having to beat that team.
Well, that wraps it up for today. Thank you, fans, for listening. Dash, thank you for coming in. Fans, you can follow us on Twitter at bet_the_spread. You can follow me on Twitter at betjimthewin. Like us on Facebook. Check out the website at thespreadnews.simplesite.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel.